What's good, YouTube? We back here with another video on the channel, Crank Central. I know it's been a minute since the offline recording, but we've been catching up in the streams. We're gonna catch up even more this upcoming week, so tap into the weekly repertoire if you don't already watch the streams. But for today, we are here offline for what is potentially battle of the year between Bama State and Jackson State University on Jackson's homecoming. And man, when I tell you, they packed the crowd. From everything that I've seen, J-State showed up 44,000+ deep. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into this. All right, shout out to Marching Sport for today's footage. Everybody was at this battle, but came to the conclusion that Marching Sport was probably the best way to go for this one. All right, Bama State, what you got? First up. Melo's coming through clean. Come on, upper brass. I want to hear a little bit more of what trumpets were doing in that Okay, I don't think that was bad at all. I just don't think it landed in a lot of the things that I was trying to attempt. Especially in that back half, you rely a lot more on that upper brass melody kind of coming out and being heard more. And especially with that main motif, it kind of gets drowned out. Honestly, just lower brass half notes. UFOs just kind of like sit on those halves, matching trombone articulation, pretty solid. Most of it is just like block chords, so you know, it is what it is. But trumpets are really struggling to kind of like peek through. So because of that, and because I think that there's probably some writing ways that they could have brought out upper brass and like strengthened that section, 1.5 for the opening round. Not gonna lie, for a song, for a round where like, okay, opening statement, what you got? Usually I end up having to like kind of tack songs because it's like, okay, of course you're gonna play something a little bit strong. But I do think that like trumpets not really being a presence at all brings that down. All right, Jackson, what you got for the opening round? Okay, I want to say I've heard them play this before. Absolutely. Really solid, honestly, phrasing trumpets while y'all are up there. I really like that harmony that all upper brass hit at the end of that phrase. Jackson letting their nuts hang a little bit with the first one, especially with a song that it ain't our first time hearing it from. Really solid opening. I just hope they don't let off the gas with this finale. Come on, Tubas. Chipping going on. Little bit of chipping going on. I am not trying to be too nitpicky. Little bit of chipping going on. Tubas, UFO, B-tones. I hear that. Generally 2.5 though. Generally 2.5. I'll be honest. All right, Bama State. Round 2. Come on. Have we heard this from them? If I'm not mistaken, I know Jackson has heard. Alright, come on, you folks. Through that whole phrase. Segment your air however you must in order to get through all of that whole phrase, because the first time it was played, upper brass was already weaker than UFOs. Come on, UFOs. Damn, the imbalance in the stands is just trumpets can't do nothing about that. I'm not gonna lie. And Mellows weren't as involved in that back half as they kind of need to be to bolster everything. That maxes out at a 2, 1.5, 2, 1.5, 2. It gets a 2. It gets a 2. It was still pretty solid. I like the form of it all. If their upper brass honestly was just like kind of written in unison, I think that back half slaps. All right, Jackson. What's your response? Oh, it don't matter. I guess I paused too early for the repeat. Let's see if it changes anything though. Come on, Tubas. Really good general layering for that back half though. Still stays at 2. I'm sorry. Apologies for the early pause. I thought for sure that was what we had. Good harmony. Very good interval. Okay, okay, the up tempo, the up tempo. I'm bouncing. 2.5. Also, 2 or 2.5. 2 or 2.5. I think I'm gonna go with the 2.5 on that. Good chord, good suspense. Just watch the time. I think this is Chip and Dale. After my first time watching this, I saw people saying that it was Chip and Dale. I haven't seen Chip and Dale before. Watch that, you folks. Oh, come on. Some of the airy playing on top of like just general hollowness on top of some chipping. UFOs, y'all really letting me down with that one. I'm not gonna lie. Bama State's like most consistent section, of course, outside of trombones this year, is arguably been between their UFOs and their tubas. Mello's a sneaky up there, but they have had a couple disappearing acts, if I'm remembering correctly. But I say that to say they're one consistency, especially in terms of how they get used in the music, of some upper end intervals on top of main melodies, or, you know, accenting certain things or laying into certain parts and phrases. It's very noticeable whenever like that behemoth of a section kind of slips up. Bama State does this thing where, whether it's rivalries, whether it's like Magic City Classic, whether it's this battle, whether it's them just versus like some of the bigger schools, well, like their play calling, their songs are gonna be their songs. And just about all of these battles, like they'll have one song that's either like a gospel song or that's like a tune like this where it's a theme or something like that, where they'll just kind of like coast through the music, and it's like, okay, if you fuck with this, if you watch Chip and Dale, if you appreciate this, if you do all this, then you really gonna fuck with the selection. If not, then it's kind of gonna be iffy. Last year, it was in the Sanctuary versus Jackson. Funny enough, it was that. But they were at home, so like it was really effective. This time, niggas got booed. I'm in the middle of it. I think that there are things to point out in the execution or in the arrangement itself that are kind of like pretty lackluster. So cause of that, I'm gonna have to go with like a 1.5. Not gonna lie, not the greatest selection from Bama State. Sorry, man. All right, Jackson. On you for round 3. Mr. Johnson on the podium. Full trombone fanfare. Okay. With the routine. They singing. And they setting. Same time. How you transition this? Okay, The Fall. Alright, B-Tones. Still play full. Good build. Seamless. That was bold. That was bold. I've never heard a song begin fanfare. I'm not gonna lie. That's real bold. Single section fanfare for like a full song worth like opening, full section worth opening. Like that wasn't just like 8 bars. It wasn't just like 16 bars. Like, no, that was a full like 32 kind of like for real, slow too. Hey, if any section to do it, especially in this battle, will be Jackson trombones. I'm not gonna lie to you. The one critique, I suppose, like I think that they did a great job building from low entropy, building from low dynamic level, good sustainment, and especially honestly, like it's their homecoming. They're at home. Jackson is missing some bodies now, whether it's because like they didn't earn it, like on some like, didn't make the cut type shit, or if it's like grades or whatnot, I don't know what it is, but niggas missing by. This is not like 314. The sustainment of sound was still there. The wall was still there. Tube was on that walk up, on that run. Great shit. I'm not gonna lie. Also I wanted more from the band. That trombone fanfare is not like just a piece. Like that was pretty long, so I get like it was already a pretty big chunk of the song. However, we've seen Jackson be able to interpolate even songs with like fairly repetitive motifs into different ways that build to a pinnacle. Now I do think that to an extent this did feel a little bit premature. A few of these songs like Chippendale from Bama State sounded a little bit premature in terms of its ending. I forgot what Jackson played in round 2, which I was balancing between a 2 or a 2.5 on. That even felt like a little bit abrupt. This definitely earns like a 2.5. I just kind of wanted more from the band, knowing what we've seen from this band in terms of reimagining like classics and just being able to reinvent those motifs in different ways. Just sometimes passing it throughout the band, maybe a modulation or two, something like that. I don't know. Back to Bama State. What you got? Second half of the battle now. I want to say attacks were solid for those first couple of notes, despite being low. Good interval mellows. Keep pitch mellows, but good bend. Short. Play the note short. All right, tubas. job ascending and descending in those runs to layer throughout the song. Good sound, you folks. Trumpets. Oh, that ending, and kind of trumpets still again, like kind of killed what could have been like a really great piece. I was really fucking digging like the way that they were building in and out of dynamic level. Some of those support runs from a multitude of sections, just balancing in between the cracks, just providing like slight counters, not even counters necessarily, just like to move passages along. Ooh, I really want to get at 2.5, but the ending of that shit is and I think literally aside from just the ending, it's really good. So I'm gonna get at 2.5. All right, Jackson with round 4. What's the response? Yeah, there's definitely like some missing bodies. I'm looking for faces and I'm not seeing them. Okay. Oh, this is... Okay. This genre-wise, this in their bag. Move-wise, this in their bag. Good underneath counters, mellows and bones. Yeah, they jamming that. I really love a lot of support encounters. Just underneath main motif and melody, while not conflicting. It's not in the same range. It's not in the same vocal range. It's not intersecting with it. It's moving alongside it. So it's not really conflicting with the main voicing. That was a good jam. I'm gonna get at 2.5. Literally, only thing I think is that's one of those instances where kind of Jacksonifying it is like partially taking away from some of the lathering in the essence of the song that kind of gets missed when bringing it to them. But 2.5 regardless. All right, Bama St. Writer's Song. UFOs are such a strong tone versus upper brass, and so some of the conversations some of the conversations written between them are very one-sided. Okay, hanging ending. I'm gonna give that a 2. I think that's really solid. I think they wrote in, well, the way they wrote it left a lot of like emptiness in spots where I could definitely feel the ends of phrases be exposed. Are they trumpets? Hit the note, one side. But yeah, we're familiar with this. Crisp. Yeah. This one of them ones. I'm not gonna lie. This one of them ones. Are those staggered phrases from trumpet? Is that what that is? Staggered run phrases? Yeah, that's a 3. Yeah. That trumpet sound of like gliding through those runs is not as dominant as it is written to be, as it was before, etc. Just from the heads that I see in attendance, I'm kind of gonna blame it on, or that I don't see in attendance, kind of partially blaming on that. I want to say this is probably like a good like sub 40 trumpets. These niggas like can easily march like 60. I'm more than sure that at some point, you know, some of those extra bodies like take away from the sound. But in terms of like level of arrangement, in terms of balance, in terms of withholding rhythms, in terms of playing through these phrases, in terms of building the layering that is articulating these multi-layered chords together, it's impeccable. This is an amazing arrangement with amazing execution to back. All right, Bama State. All right, Bama State. What you got? 1, 2, ready, and okay. Running the door. Ooh, some bricks. Come on, man. good fade. Never mind. I thought that was a lick. Come on, Mellows. I want to say they're tired. I believe they're tired. Mellows and UFO specifically. I want that stagger phrase. I've heard that stronger. Two. Fatigue set in. Fatigue set in. Some messy attacks. Lack of sustainment. Come on, Mellis. Give a little bit more direction for that phrase. Come on. Let me hear the top of that phrase. Yeah, the end of that is pure chaos. Pure chaos a little bit. Pure chaos a little bit. 2.5. Good chaos, I mean, controlled chaos. Alright, so, little correction, round 2. I ended up changing it to a 2. I didn't feel right about giving it a 2.5 in the moment, so make that adjustment, with the scores, right? All in all, still comes out to Jackson with 15 and Bama State with 9.5. I did not expect this score. The battle did not feel like it would produce this outcome. I actually felt like, especially watching this live, which I did hop in somebody's live to catch like the tail end of it, it felt as though, and I definitely watched the Zero as well, which we'll be rewatching on stream. This felt like it had more energy than Boombox. Even just some of the mannerisms of the staff on both sides like had more energy, had more fuel than like the energy of Boombox, which especially this year felt more like, okay, back to business. This is a yearly occurrence. It felt like the start of like a conference. This felt like an after party. That's literally because it was Jackson's party. It was homecoming for Jackson at home. Even just between the bands themselves in terms of whatever, like this definitely felt, number one, this was hyped up for as well. Bama State has been on a hell of a run to start the year. We are just now crossing, I want to say, like the halfway mark for just about all bands. It's homecoming season, right? So after we come out of homecoming season, there's a whole bunch of star-studded matchups to look out for. We still have Soul Bowl at the end of the season. We still have like TSU Southern. We still have Bama State. And especially with the run that Bama State's been on, I was especially projecting them, if you've been watching the streams, to kind of like come in here with some renewed energy. And they came with the renewed energy, but not a renewed and focused kind of like performance. I felt like there were several instances to where even some of their highlight sections fell short, especially early on in some of the sections. Going into Jackson and end up with 2 1.5s, that is the death sentence. You're gonna lose. I feel like some of the gambles they had in terms of song selection, I'm not even just judging the crowd. Like, this is a Jackson crowd. Jackson gonna ride for their crowd. It is homecoming. You're not winning over this crowd. However, in terms of the energy of the song selection that they did have, I did not feel like it was potentially like aggressive enough. I feel like Chip and Dale kind of like left some to be desired, as well as another one of their arrangements. Their round 1 selection just was not really up to par with a lot of stuff that they played, and everything else just kind of like capped off at a certain point. Specifically trumpets. The more that we've heard some trumpet involvement, like a lot of their better arrangements now, thinking about it throughout the year, whether it's Shine, whether it's 2 a.m. even, have featured like, I won't say pretty heavy, but noticeable moments of upper brass unison. And notably for a lot of the songs today, they went away from that with some trumpet isolation, using mellows more so as auxiliary pieces like mellows theoretically would do in a lot of other bands in the SWAC. But I don't think that's how Bama State's mellows like are best utilized. Number 1, they start to struggle with range and accuracy. Number 2, they shined brightest when they were either doubled or playing leading melody with a lot of room for styling, articulation, and phrasing. I don't think they're best utilized as one note mellows. I don't think they're utilized best as accent mellows. And I definitely don't think that your leading voice, if you're going to have an upper brass leading voice, should be your trumpets. Jackson went out of the box with a few of their arrangements, leading with a full trombone fanfare, right? In an instance to where like Jackson was definitely not the underdogs going into this, Bama State, it felt like they did not pull out all the tricks. It felt like they pulled out some tricks, and even those didn't land, but it did not feel as though they were very inventive with some of their arrangements. It did not feel like also they stuck to their strengths. It's like they tried new things, but those new things were things that almost certainly, if you would have asked me if that was the way for them to win against Jackson, I probably would have told you no a week ago. Jackson also just in general was on another level of execution. Streamlined band, similar results, because at the end of the day, like the size and the magnitude of their sound is one thing. First off, their quality of sound is still tremendously high. Second, their sustainment and their fundamentals in terms of their articulation, in terms of their pitch placement, are still pristine. And third, those arrangements are still kicking. And the band is like, even streamlined the way that it is still very sizable, to where like even fluctuation in some of these numbers and some of these strengths, because of the way that certain things are written and the level of play that they have at a baseline, is still getting 2.5s across the board, except for like one round. So we'll see if someone can dethrone them throughout the rest of the season. But that'll come with next video, so I will see y'all there. I appreciate y'all watching. Subscribe if you're new. If you're not, leave a comment. Let me hear from you. Let me know what you thought about this battle. If you were there in person, give me your perspective. And we'll be back with the offline channel uploads. So yeah, look forward to them. I'll catch y'all later. Peace and crank up.